Hey guys, welcome back to Heiko Shaves. So I was in the bathroom taking a shower after a day working in the yard, burn yard waste, branches, leaves, whatever. I just did that, so I really had to take a shower. I smelled like a campfire. So it was a busy day. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, man, you really should shave. You look terrible. And then I came up with this really crazy idea. It involves sheet metal shears. I just got them out of my shop. I could probably get away with normal scissors, but here's the story. So a little while ago, I was just watching some YouTube shaving content, and I came across this guy trying to make his mild razor more aggressive. And he used a standard normal razor blade that he chopped off the cutting edge to create a shim. Here I already cut one. I just cut the ends off, the sharp ends off, just to create a shim. But what we're gonna do is not trying to make it more aggressive, but we're gonna try to make it milder. Now actually that's wrong. One razor we're gonna try to make milder, the other one we're actually gonna try to make more aggressive. So the two razors I'm talking about, here's the Yaki Ultima. That is a really nicely made CNC machine, stainless steel adjustable, but it just starts out a little too aggressive. We just had a comparison to the brass version of the Final Cut, Yaki Final Cut in brass, and the brass somehow manages to be a little milder in setting 1. So if you now picture a blade being in here, the blade has a certain gap where it's set at number 1, and the only way that you could make this razor milder, theoretically at least, is by machining down the surfaces here where the blade sits on to bring the blade closer to the close comb. So you have a certain blade gap and you can't change that unless you have a mill at home and you can put that in a vise and angle it and then machine this down. I'm not in that lucky position, at least not yet. But then I figured, I kept talking about this imaginary line. Here's my straight edge, very scientific. This imaginary line between the close comb and the top cap here, that line, and somewhere in here is the blade. And so if you have a blade that protrudes past that imaginary line between those two surfaces here, you have a positive exposure. If you have a blade that's kind of retracted, it's not sticking out, you have a negative blade exposure. So like I said, we can't do anything about the blade gap really unless I get the file out. Or change how this adjustment mechanism here works, but I don't think I have the technical capabilities to do that. But what if we would do something that would raise the top up? So if we go back to our straight line here, straight edge, and now we would raise up the top and we would change the angle of this imaginary line between the close comb and the top here. So my thought is, what if I take a razor blade, put that in place, just like I always do, like that, and then take a shim and put that on top of it. So lining it up with the other blade down below should not be a problem. And that theoretically raises the top up above the blade. So if I now, oops, you should hold on to things, Heiko. So now we're lined up, and now I tighten this down. So it should pinch everything just like it did before. Only difference is now that this thing is a little higher and is a little further away from the blade. And I don't know, that doesn't look very promising. We're gonna try it out. So this is trying to attempt to make something milder. Now the second one that I wanted to try out here is this puppy. Still has a blade in it, Heiko. All right, this is the Prismatic from PAA. And you remember the first shave I did with it. It has massive blade exposure. You can see a lot of blade, but it's very low, close to the close comb here in this wavy pattern, you know. And I was complaining that it barely shaves. It barely does anything. So what if we now, instead of putting the shim on top of the blade, we're putting the shim down below, which that should increase the blade gap between the close comb and the blade. Here's another sacrificial, already used twice blade, Wilkinson sword, and my sheet metal shears, and we're just gonna cut a sliver off, just the sharp part. And you can probably do that with paper scissors. Didn't want to use my wife's kitchen scissors. And then she finds out by maybe accidentally watching this video. So I went and got my sheet metal shears. All right, put those away so I don't accidentally stab myself. Here's the top and the blade that was still in there, had only one shave, and now we're placing the shim that we just made right on there. So that shim will end up between the bottom part of the head and the blade. So just like that. And now we're going to put the handle back on there. And we're going to take a, ooh, yeah. So I don't know if you guys paid attention earlier, but now I can see that the blade gap is larger than before. And it should, because this makes sense. This is what the other YouTuber, I forgot his name, he did that to make his favorite razor a little bit more aggressive. That should work. I'm just not so sure about the shim that goes between the blade and the top, to raise the top above the blade a little bit to decrease the amount of blade exposure. All right, so I have two razors now. They're equipped with a shim, one to make it milder, one to make it more aggressive. And I have water here already. I just took a shower, so my bristles here, my stubbles should be fine. I have a synthetic DS Cosmetic brush from AliExpress, the barber shop, the barber pole design, and my favorite Rasiert green. You know, when I make those experiments, I at least like to have a soap that I can lather properly. As you guys know, I'm not the lather king. I'm just rather simple. I like to face lather and not mess around. All right, and here we go. Let's just put some soap on the face. So this is not so much about the shave, but the little experiment here. Oh my goodness, making a mess. I thought I squeezed out all the water. Rasiert Green is just a very beginner friendly soap. It lathers easy. It has a certain volume to it that I like. The scent is amazing. The coolness is great. All right, so experiment. Let's first grab the previously too aggressive razor and see if our little shim that we put on top of the blade made it milder. We're at number 1, lowest setting. 911. Someone call 911 if it goes sideways. I don't know. I don't know. Let me take the shim out and just do a couple more strokes with it, just so that I can really tell the difference. So first we did the after, now we're doing the before, right? It's possible that by adding a shim, we made the blade combo stiffer and it doesn't want to curl up as much. Yeah. That's exactly what happens. So with this little handle down here, when you are trying to curve two blades suddenly, it just doesn't want to go. So it was actually more aggressive than here in the original. In the original configuration with just one blade. It's still not a pleasure to shave with. At least not for me. Your mileage may vary. I'm not saying you cannot shave with this at setting 6. You do you. But for Heiko, this is just not the most enjoyable. All right. So now flip to the other one. The one that we actually used the shim to make it more aggressive. And you know what? I think that might actually work, because just from the look of it, the blade gap to the closed comb with the waves in it is now a little larger. So let's try it. Oh yeah, there is clearly more blade action going on. All right, now I'm going to, just like earlier, I'm going to take the shim out without cutting my fingers off, just to really see if there is a massive difference or if this is all in my head, which is possible. Okay, took both blades out. They don't want to separate, so they are like stuck on top of each other. That's what surface tension of water does. Here's the shim. Taking that out, putting the blade back in place, putting the bottom on. Okay, so there was quite some blade action going on, and now without a shim, yeah, here in this case, the shim actually, it does the trick. It increases aggression, even though it's just a minute amount. I don't know exactly how thick a Wilkinson sword blade is, but it isn't very thick. So now I just put the shim back on. Yeah, I think that actually does the trick. Oh, forgot a piece here. Good. So instead of continuing with Yaki Ultima, where that trick didn't quite work, we're going to continue with prismatic and just finish off the shave here so that I can walk out the bathroom clean shaven. So don't be afraid to experiment. Just, don't blame Heiko. Do it at your own risk. And be careful not to cut your fingers. I mean, those sharp edges those slivers that I cut off, they're still razor sharp because they are part of a razor blade. All right, here we go. Across the grain. Makes a lot of noise. I think it's just because there is so much blade that this hangs in midair, is not supported. Very good, actually. This actually might become one of my favorite razors now. I like it. Oh, garage door is opening? I wonder why. The dogs are barking. They are doing their job. They are alerting. I'm really pleasantly surprised. Oh, she is barking, huh? All right. I think it's a good time to finish up this little experiment. We did a 2-pass with a modified Ultima and a modified prismatic. The Ultima experiment failed. It just made it more aggressive. The prismatic, on the other hand, it actually made it a little bit more aggressive, gave it a little bit more blade gap, and that is the trick. That is the trick. So instead of doing a full 3rd pass, let me just go against the grain down here. Very good. I am very happy with the result. This is not the cleanest shave I've ever done, but dogs barking, kids coming home, wife coming home. So time to finish this up. Don't be hesitant to experiment like this. Just be careful with your little fingers and don't cut yourself and all that. And then also be careful in your face. Think this through a little bit and then just try it. So I'm just going to rinse off here real quick. with a quick rinse. We don't have any irritation here. Let me just grab my favorite green Praso and splash that on. Yeah, just like that. Very good. Alrighty guys, thanks for hanging out with me, coming up with those silly ideas. If you have any kind of other silly ideas that you want to post down in the comment section, do so. Maybe we turn that into a video. Alrighty guys, hang in there. See you in the next one.